All right, good evening. Welcome to the Town of Brookfield Select Board meeting for September 20th of 2022. Please rise and say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, no announcements for today, other than I am going to do a little bit of freelance here and say that if anybody's interested in volunteering, we have lots of opportunities posted on the website. So, first item is to approve the warrants, and we've got one for $168,603.97.
You have two copies of each warrant so that you can sign them, because Linda was the signatory on those, and she's no longer a
Right,
member.
she's no longer a member, so. We've got, that was a that was an expense warrant. We've got a payroll warrant for $202,201.76. We have a withholding warrant of $70,080.51. And then what about the ones from 9/7?
Those are ones that Linda had signed previously.
Okay, well, she was still.
Yes.
So then we just need to.
You just need to report on
Report the
those.
fact that previously signed were an expense warrant for $439,150.76, a payroll warrant for 9/7 for $178,914.85, and a withholding warrant for 9/7/22 of $28,306.51. So can I get a motion to ratify those last three and to sign the first three?
Yep, I'll make a motion to ratify the last three read and sign the first three read.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's these. All right, the next item is Board of Health, a discussion on the clothing bins. So would one of you like to come up?
Yes, I'm just gonna pass this to you and sit down.
Sure.
Oh, you do want
I'll use Karen's after, thank you.
Okay, are you ready for me?
Go right ahead.
Okay, I'm Brianna Dunn, I'm the clerk for the Board of Health. We are here today to talk to the selectmen about CMRK Inc. They are a clothing textile company. They recycle clothing, small household goods. This company had reached out to me at my other job, Board of Health, and I had kind of put it off for a little while. And one day I gave the woman a call. And the first thing was, it wasn't an automated system, it was an actual woman that answered the phone, so that was really nice. And I asked a little bit about the company. And what they are is, they're kind of like the bins that you see around town in most towns, like a Planet Aid or a Salvation Army or something like that. But the difference with this company is that they go above and beyond in different kind of ways. So ultimately, what I think the Board of Health collectively is trying to propose is that we want to replace the bins at the transfer station with CMRK Inc. bins, and additionally put some around town, and maybe George can touch on where we want to put them. I think the police department would be somewhere we would look into, and maybe in front of the building here. We want to put bins in places where people would be more apprehensive to dumping. But right now, residents in Brookfield only have access to recycling textiles if they have access to the transfer station, or if they get in their car and they go to a bin, or if they go to Salvation Army or Goodwill. CMRK Inc. will also do household pickups, so the resident of Brookfield could call, could text, email, or even scan a QR code, and they'll go do a pickup. So the bins only take textiles, so clothing, shoes, fabrics, but if they do a home pickup, they will come collect textiles, small household items, so your pots, your pans, your knickknacks. They'll even take bicycles. Now, if dumping does happen, you know, this company they're in the business, they know what happens. They take full responsibility for it, so they'll try to be out, you know, like that day. But ultimately, I think in the memorandum of understanding, it says 24 to 48 hours. They'll be out and they'll clean up the mess. They'll take everything. They're not going to charge the town for anything. If somebody goes and has a microwave there or a refrigerator, that is not going to be at the fault of the town. They will take care of it. I feel like I'm probably missing a couple of points, but one of the main reasons that we kind of want to get going with this is because there is a textile ban, mattress ban coming November 1st of this year. So it kind of pivots Brookfield towards being more in compliance with regulation. We don't have any issues at the transfer station. We recycle the mattresses there, so that's fine. But ultimately, we want to make sure that every resident has access to textile recovery, to recycling. And the town also gets paid for it. It's not a whole lot of money. I mean, it's 7 cents a pound, so it's really not a lot.
But we're not paying to get rid of it.
We're not paying to get rid of it. You know, I think we were kind of talking like maybe, okay, so let me backtrack for a second. CMRK Inc. will customize the bins, so they'll put Brookfield's logo on there and they'll put whatever you want on there. So we were saying maybe we could get a bin to say benefits the senior center, or, you know, just a entity within the town, and maybe that money could go towards something like that. You know, it would take a lot to save up for something good and chunky, but it's there. So basically what I have given you all is the memorandum of understanding to look over. There is some information on how residents can do the pickup. There is an example of the director. She kind of just threw a little thing together. That's the donate clothing and shoes with the Brookfield logo. You know, something simple like that might go on a bin. And then there are some references from other people, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Society of St. Vincent. They work with all of those companies. And then lastly, there's a little information about the textile ban that's coming up in November. Let's see, am I forgetting anything? George and I went to the facility actually too. So it was ran nicely. They were personable and they were there, you know. But
Human beings.
do you want to switch?
There are 2 chairs. You could both be up there.
So for clothing that is put into these bins, we will get paid 7 cents per pound. And we can, as Brianna said, we could choose some of the groups in this town and put their logo on there, Council for Aging. And
Actually, no. You
I was gonna
can't.
say,
You can't.
because we need to revolve, it has to be something that has a revolving fund if we were gonna.
It would have to be,
designate
and it would
someone.
have to be dedicated to whatever department you want to put it in.
Right.
But as it stands, the way it is right now, without a very specific criteria from Lori, all money goes into the general fund.
all right,
And
that's
we
fine.
would need to go to the town meeting and vote a new revolving account before we could access or
Right.
create, or
Well-
put the money in it.
Right, and that's what I was kind of thinking, was that even though initially it would need to go in the general fund, I'm sure they can keep track of how much it is, and if we do choose to allocate it into a revolving fund at the annual, if by then there's enough money to make it worthwhile, we could.
That's a possibility. I don't know how the revolving fund would work, because revolving funds collect fees. And this is not collecting a fee.
That's a good point.
So I'm not sure that that would actually work in this instance.
Okay.
One of the things we could do is state that, you know, we're gonna keep a running total of what we
Right.
make,
And
and
then
at the annual
the
town
town
meeting,
meeting
we'll
will
allocate that much money toward a different group each year. This year it'll be rec, and you could set up a schedule. This year it'll be rec, next year it'll be COA,
do you
next
think
year it'll
about
be
that?
cultural council. It's just, I'm spitballing here, but, but you could do something like that, where you would make a promise to follow through on it, but unless there's a specific rule that allows it, all money coming into the town
Has
is
to go in the
required to
general
go
fund.
into the general fund.
Yeah, I was thinking that might be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't know the mechanics of that end of it. So
Yeah.
however that works,
It's still better to have it be even as a token revenue stream, it's better to have it be a revenue stream than an
Right, than
expense.
an expense, yeah.
So that's always a win-win,
Mhm.
and then we can have discussions about if it's enough of a revenue stream to matter to at least kick it to different groups.
Like I process payments up there right now in the Board of Health from Planet Aid. It's really not a lot. It's like $64 quarterly or something. So, I mean, personally, I would like to see it just for the textile purposes. That way residents can call and just say, hey, you know, I have this, come pick it up.
Right.
I don't like seeing things going to the landfill. So that's my main goal out of
Yeah.
it. But one of
And
the
it's-
pluses is the
Well, I like the convenience of it because fundamentally, I mean, if people can also get at-home pickup, I think they're gonna.
Yeah,
be-
that's great.
And I think the challenge there will be communicating it, but if we get it out electronically, and if we do a mailing for town meeting, we could do things like insert the QR code, like somewhere in the document. Fundamentally, we could say, you know, hey, here's, just so you know, reminder about town services, hey, you can get textiles and small household goods picked up, just scan this QR code or call, text, or whatever, you know. If there's other reasons why we've got a mailing going out to a fairly large portion, we can advertise it that way.
The other thing I forgot to mention about them is Brookfield does take part in the recycling dividends program. It's a little grant that comes in for recycling and
Mhm.
reusing. CMRK Inc. also kind of plays off of that a little bit. So the state just changed it this year, so you get more points for doing smaller things. And a couple of the things is educating the public, and we don't have a very diverse population in Brookfield compared to some other cities in Massachusetts, but we still get the points if we advertise recycling and reusing in different languages. So CMRK Inc. will provide us for free with a monthly advertisement for what they do in recycling the textiles and everything, so we'll get a point for that. Put it on social media, put it in the reminder, I don't know what paper Brookfield gets out here, but a paper that's of no cost, because we don't want to
Yeah,
make
like
this
the-
cost money.
Right.
But then we can also advertise the languages, maybe just on the Board of Health page or something like that, or however, but we'll also get the points for both of those, so we're getting 2 extra points.
We could do it on our our own Facebook page, and we could probably put it on the community page and not have anybody object.
Brookfield does not have a Facebook page.
Town Brookfield has a Facebook page.
It is not supposed to have a Facebook page.
Oh, it does.
It does, it has for years.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. That's a topic for another time.
Okay, let's put it on the agenda for next meeting.
so just to let you know, regarding the transfer station, we have 5 bins that are always filled.
Okay,
These will, and only one of them pays us the 7 cents.
right,
In this case, we'll be paid for 5 bins full,
right.
just for the people that come in there.
Oh,
Okay.
that's great. That's a nice shift.
Yeah,
And also, they're gonna be taking books, they don't pay us for that.
right, but we won't have to deal with them.
We're having to throw those books away because of the overflow, and sometimes we don't do anything with encyclopedias or college
Textbooks,
books, things of that nature.
and they'll take all that.
Right now, we break the covers, the hard covers off, and put the books into the single stream.
I
Yeah.
don't think they take encyclopedias. I think that's one book that they don't actually take.
So,
I could be wrong, but I feel like I read that somewhere. I could be wrong though. Still, the books that get thrown away, there's
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still, it'll be a lot fewer, so.
And the last thing for the transfer station, we have the take it or leave it business going on there. It's really popular. People are supposed to bring in gently used household items, artwork, you name it, everything. And when some of this stuff stays there for a month or more, and nobody's moving it, we have to throw it away.
Yeah.
It has to go in the bulk dumpster, now we got to pay for it. They'll take all of that.
Yeah,
We box it up, dishes, boxes of mixed toys, it doesn't
So-
matter, they take it all.
So fundamentally, there's no fees involved in getting involved with them, and they pay us. So I mean, I hate to put it this way, is that what it kind of boils down to?
It sounds way too easy.
It does sound way
Yeah.
too easy, but it does sound promising. Kelly, do you see any concerns about it? Because I kind of like, especially
Well-
Taylor will
the fact that
have-
they commit to,
Okay.
if something does turn into a dumping problem, that they do address it.
And they have a,
Okay, so, it says that they're responsible for removal of the bins within 30 days of termination with a 90-day period for reconciliation. What does that mean?
If we wanna cancel, they're gonna try to keep us.
And also probably to get your final payment, because they only pay quarterly, so they don't want to be rushed to give you their final check.
All right, well,
That's
if that's
how-
the way it
that's how I
works.
read it.
If that's the way it works, that's fine.
Mhm.
Who's responsible? It says that the town is responsible for calling them. Who is going to be that person?
Well, I work with them right now in the other town that I work in.
Uh-huh.
And I wouldn't mind doing it as part of the Board of Health duties. I mean, it's.
So that
really
needs to be
kind of
added as an
first.
official duty, because if Brianna decides that she's gonna go start her own Board of Health in her own,
Or somebody for transfer station, because they'll review it maybe, I don't know.
that needs to,
Mhm.
the job needs to stick with the position, not the person. So it needs to be assigned to a specific position, either at the transfer station or within the Board of Health, so that we know who to contact when we're seeing
I
if
have,
there's
I
a
have a
problem.
recommendation.
Mhm.
I think that,
oh, you're talking about dumping?
well, a couple of different things. One, I think she's concerned about dumping, but
Mm.
two, just ensuring that this stuff is emptied on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's actually more where my
The-
head was.
My recommendation would be it's the responsibility of the clerk to contact CMRK, but that it also be written into the transfer station, roles that it's their job to notify the clerk when the bins are more than 75% full or
And
something
who's
along
gonna
those lines.
monitor the bins around town? Who's gonna go around and look at those?
They'll have a regular rotation of picking up these things. You know, we could say every 2 weeks, let's say. I don't know how one bin gets more activity than the rest of them.
Mhm.
I'd like to see them at businesses. We don't have a lot of businesses here, but that person there could give us a call and get them.
It might not be a bad idea to approach the businesses that have the storage facilities, because they've got people there that are always wanting to get rid of stuff and not move it.
That's actually a
And they
really good
might
idea.
really welcome that, so that stuff isn't left behind.
Yeah,
That is a good idea.
yeah, because,
And that would
'cause
hit
I know
Route
Island's-
9
I know Island, I
without
know,
having to bother Mass DOT.
yeah, and that, because I know Island Storage has already got a Planet, or they've got a Planet 8 or St. Vincent's or something, so
Mhm.
they might be willing to either add another bin or replace it with these. So, so they would be good contacts.
I was thinking also of, we've got 3 that I know of places where people put all their storage
Right.
stuff.
Mhm.
And then these storage units end up sometimes not being paid.
Get
Mhm.
Now
abandoned,
they get rid of the stuff.
yeah.
Right, now they've got a place to put it.
So the
Yes.
clothing, and the clothing does not have to be perfect clothing, because a lot of this stuff gets built up if it's ripped, or as long as it doesn't have oil or
Yeah,
offensive smells. But if, like, it's a shirt like this and it's ripped, or it's missing all the buttons, they'll turn that into rags and other things.
yeah, recycled into like,
So those
I
clothing-
did speak with the police chief, and he's absolutely not gonna allow,
Yeah.
and I honestly, I agree with him, the lot is really, really tiny, and if a car is pulled up, putting things in a nice, responsible way, and they have an emergency and need to get out, we can't be blocking their driveway, it's tiny. I was gonna recommend that if you wanna put it here, put it behind the handicap ramp, which is easily accessible, it doesn't interfere with plowing, it doesn't, it's not a big enough space for people to dump their stuff, plus we're right here watching if you wanna put it on the town
Yeah.
hall
it's a
site.
good thought.
But this says it needs to be clearly visible, so I don't know what that means. Does it mean that they need to be able to see it from the street?
I mean, they want it in a place where people know it's there, where it's gonna be accessible.
Mhm.
I think we kind of had the conversation a little bit while we were there of just kind of getting set up in town. You know, I think today is mostly about getting the permission maybe, and then
Mhm.
kind of working out the details of where to put them.
Okay.
But even if we just start off with one bin, we can keep adding more as we find better
Yeah.
places to put them, and then that gives residents access immediately.
Well, this is a great parking lot for that.
Right.
My concern was snow and snow removal. So they push all of the snow up that end.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we put it here, right behind the handicap ramp, people can roll up, throw their stuff, and roll right back out
Right,
again.
right through.
I think it's good.
Okay.
And, you know, it just comes down to communication, advertising that it's there and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Word of mouth will
Yeah.
happen as well.
Yeah, it's not like it's a huge town, so we figured
Exactly.
things stuff
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
But every bin I've ever seen people use,
Yeah,
especially the ones out on the main roads.
yeah.
And yes, people put the crap down. They have, responding within one business day for any instance of dumping. So that's what they will do. So,
And one of the things that's interesting is the annual diversion report for the town. We can also start sharing that with people and help
Mhm.
educate them on.
And that can be
what's going
posted on the town website as well as this. We'll put out a news and announcement. We're not gonna use a reverse 911 for this
No.
though, because 911 in the name implies it should be an emergency when you
Yeah.
use it. I've had people ask why we didn't do reverse 911 calls for many, many things. Like, because it's 911, it's an emergency call, no?
Does Brookfield have, there's an app that you can get, I don't know if it's an app or if it's like meant for towns, but it's going off topic a little bit, but I'll have to look into it. I think it's called Red Dot or something like that maybe, but you get town alerts, you put something on there, and then anybody that signs up for like the town.
We have that on our website.
Oh, okay.
Anytime there's an emergency or an alert, if you sign up ahead of time, anytime that happens, you automatically, you get an email and you can get a text. I believe you can get a text. I'd have to double check on that, but I know you get an email. I did look into Text My Government, which is extremely expensive, and it wasn't feasible for us. And all it does is, you sign up, yes, I want a text, and then you have to follow the link to the website anyway. So it was to my mind, it was not of value, because if you are going to the website anyway, sending a text on a topic that sends you a link to the website when you can just go to the website
Right.
seems like way too many steps to me.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, and it was very, very expensive.
All right, so Taylor is the director, I think is her official name maybe. But she's the woman that we've kind of been working with through correspondence, and the woman that we met at the facility. We met everybody at the facility, but she was our point of contact. She is willing to come out and talk to, the select board if you guys.
I think you
have any
guys kind of had
questions,
us at hello, to be honest, but
Okay.
I don't want to speak for both of us. But,
If there's questions, or if you
yeah.
want to put a face to the name or anything
yeah.
like that.
And Kelly, I know we haven't like started with a motion and then moving the discussion. We always manage to do that backwards.
That's fine,
but
you don't have to have
do
a
you,
motion to discuss things, you just have to have a motion to vote. That's a,
I know you had expressed some concerns prior to this, but I
my
think this
concerns were
addresses many
dumping,
of them.
but because I've seen this happen on many, many properties where they're only allowed to drop clothes, and furniture and appliances show up and high chairs, and next thing you know, the businesses that have these locations have them pulled off because they can't handle the dumping. So that's something that we're just gonna have to monitor.
Yeah.
And if it becomes a habitual dumping site,
I do wonder though if putting them behind town hall would almost prevent some dumping in a way, because police station's there.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
Right.
Fire
you
station's
still-
there.
And we have cameras.
There's traffic in and out,
So-
there's cameras, yeah.
Yeah, so.
So that's
think
why I
it's
thought that
relatively-
was a
I
good,
think that's
a good spot.
relatively low risk, and,
Yeah.
Yep.
and I
We
think,
can have those bins painted, if there are cameras available, that there are cameras watching you.
yeah,
That'll be right on the bin.
smile, you're on camera.
Yeah.
So, got it, okay, so.
Just hope you're photogenic on it. See if they get the hint.
I'd like to see the transfer station start with all the bins we have, and the different things they're gonna get, and then work our way out into the town for other locations that, you
Yep.
know, speak to anybody that's got businesses. I think the three different
Storage facilities is a
storage
good idea.
facilities would certainly.
It's actually 4.
Oh, there's another one?
Yeah.
So there's island storage, there's the one out back of, on the common, there's a small storage facility there.
Oh, I didn't.
There's the one by Old Camellas, and then there's the one that's where the solar field is,
Yes.
that's
that I'm
right.
aware of. Those are the ones that I'm aware of, I think.
Yeah.
He built
So-
a whole bunch of storage units, and they were filled up like that. He
Right.
built some more.
And the other place that might be worth talking to, because they have centralized in some manners, or in some instances, they have centralized trash collection, is I think Brookfield Meadows has like a dumpster, and residents have to bring their trash to the dumpster. So you might have an opportunity where they could put the clothing bin there as well, so
Oh,
it's
and
available.
the trailer parks.
The trailer parks.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that would, you could actually just ask all 3 trailer parks if they're interested in bins, and that would make it really convenient for their residents.
Yeah,
That's a good
Yeah.
idea too.
yeah. So between those and the storage facilities, it sounds like you may have the potential for 7 bins just there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, if
so-
we have too many, then they'll all have just a little in them. I don't know
Yeah.
if there'll be enough to fill them all
Right,
either.
but a lot of the folks at the trailer parks don't use the transfer station, so
Mhm.
you're probably not double hitting those populations, and they're also some of the highest, like, living concentrations
In town.
of folks, so.
And they'd be definitely watching what people put
Yep.
on the ground.
Right, and so long as they had the number to contact you to notify, see if they had a dumping issue, then I'd prefer all communications be through the Board of Health to the
Mhm.
company, so,
That's fine. The Board of Health should be the one
yeah.
for,
But that's where I would recommend fundamentally, so. Do we wanna make a motion to, do we need to, are we the ones that have to sign
That's-
the
yeah, we need to
agreement?
provide a contact
Right,
We don't
information.
need to provide a contact. They need to provide a
Right.
That's true.
contact because they're the ones who have to call.
Yeah.
but we're the ones that have
We-
to sign the contract.
We, the town.
Yes, we
needs to
are
provide it.
actually the contract
we are the contractors.
signatories. Yes.
Contractees.
So do we wanna make a motion to authorize Kelly to sign the contract when the details are ironed out to everybody's agreement?
Yep, I'll make a motion that we allow Kelly as town administrator to sign the contract once all the details have been ironed out with the Board of Health.
I'll second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
There you go.
that was easy. All right,
So look over the documents that
Be
we left
great.
with you, so you get all the points,
Mhm.
pro or not pro, whatever you think we talk about those.
I do actually wonder how many people know about this change too in town.
probably not well known.
Yeah.
I'm usually pretty up on this information and I was not aware that this
Was going on.
regulation was gonna hit.
Yeah,
I knew that it was coming, but I didn't realize it was this
This
soon.
soon.
Yeah, so they're also trying to decrease organics by 30%, and so this is kind of what happened a few years ago, was they were trying to decrease mattresses and textiles by X amount, and then now a few years later, it's turned into regulation, and so I kind of do believe that organics will be the next thing, diverted from landfills, and the state is trying to really push composting right now, so.
No, I worked with, way up north, one of the towns up there, they had bins from the Commonwealth. And they bought them for $40 a bin, and we sold them to people for $40. I have 2 of those bins, and it's just for vegetation, not meats and things that will attract animals. We got 2 bins, about 8 pounds of, things like trimmings, banana peels, you name it, all this stuff. The depth of that thing is this deep to this day, after 4 years.
Yep.
I've never been able to cut, it never fills up. It's filled with worms eating it from underneath, and all kinds of other creatures eating that, and then spiders eating them. And there's no odor whatsoever. And I would love to see if we could get those bins, and once we've,
Go for it, I'll buy one.
yeah. I'd love it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, that's great. I'm a compost person anyway.
Yeah, I have 3 on my property, but that's because I do most of my lawn waste there as well, not just the kitchen waste. so.
Well, I throw grass in there occasionally, mix
Yeah.
it in.
Yep.
But the other one is for coffee grounds. Now, we drink a lot of coffee. And that thing, that's about maybe this deep. So I was in there one day and I reached in, it was all compost.
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
It was filled with garden worms. So now half of that's going into my garden. So that's another issue altogether.
Yeah. Awesome, thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is appointment of a highway worker, Eric Whitmore. Doesn't look like we have a pay slip form yet.
No, so, one of the things that has been a tradition here, or a process here, is that you create a pay slip for a person when the position actually has a wage.
Okay.
So you don't actually, that's a completely unnecessary step.
Oh, great, so we're not doing that anymore.
You don't need to do
Awesome.
that at all. You
Sounds like a
never
plan.
actually did. But I understand that before it was to make sure that the people were being paid what the wage wasn't established when the position was created.
Ah, okay,
In this instance, this is a pre-existing
wage rate.
wage rate, so there's no reason to
Got it.
sign that.
All right, so can I get a motion to appoint Eric Whitmore as a new highway worker?
Subject to a Cory check.
Subject to a court check.
Yep, I'll make a motion that we appoint Eric Whitmore to the highway worker, subject to quarry check.
I'll second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, streetlights. We need to establish a protocol for new streetlights.
Yes, we need to know, so what I'm looking for is, and this may just need to be taken, may want to table it and just take it up with the new board in November. But what I'm looking for, to have it on the record, is I need to know what the criteria is to determine whether a street light is needed. Does it have to be at an intersection? Does it have to be spaced between so many feet of existing street lights? Are accidents a factor? Is signage going to be a factor? We need to know why.
I think my question is, and I've asked this before without a lot of success, is there any either national or state guidelines that have any recommendations or standards associated with streetlights? Once upon a time, National Grid had studies and guidance and guidelines, and they don't do any of that anymore. So, and I think it's because they want to avoid the potential liability of if they recommend something and it doesn't work out well. And I think the problem is the conflicts of studies about whether street lighting actually makes things safer or more dangerous, because it does make it safer for pedestrians, but if it's intermittent, it can make it problematic for drivers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And what if you put up a street light and you have, you for all intents and purposes, you're doing it for a wonderful reason, people have difficulty with night vision in that
Yep.
neighborhood, and they've come to you and said, please put up a street light, and the only place you can put it up is shining into someone's window who never had that issue before.
Yes.
So environment is also gonna be a key component of this.
Light pollution
Yeah.
is a big deal out here.
It actually is. It actually
Yeah.
is. It's horrible when you have you're accustomed to a nice
Mm-hmm.
setting, darkness level
It's
or
one of the
light
things.
level, and then a business that wasn't in business but is pre-existing has a new owner, it's been vacant for 5 years, you bought 5 years ago, and now you have a parking lot that's completely lit all night long,
Yep.
shining in your living room windows.
Yep.
It can be a real problem,
Yeah.
you know?
It is, I wonder, when this came up, what was it, last year? I don't know, it was a while ago, that streetlights keep coming up, different intervals. I had actually spoken to someone who doesn't live in Brookfield, they live more towards the Worcester area, and they had mentioned that similar things happen in their town, and then they actually just approached National Grid and bought a streetlight, essentially, like they paid to install it, the pole on their property rather than town property, and to put up a light that they paid for out of their electric
That's very,
bill.
very common on private roads, because the
Okay.
town can't do that on a private road. So,
But this
when-
was on a public road that they didn't want to put up streetlights, and
yeah, so
because
a
of his
private
driveway,
resident can do
yeah,
that,
he just
absolutely.
put one on his property because
Yeah.
his driveway was long, and he wanted to be able to see essentially where his driveway started.
In Holland, we had a resident who had done that on their private road. They had bought a streetlight, had it put on their property,
Yeah.
and then they became financially challenged, and they contacted the town and said the town had to pay for it now because it was on the street. And we had to very gently explain to them that it was a private road and that they bought this streetlight, they bought the pole, they paid the electric bill, the town can't take it over. But yeah, it's not uncommon for people to purchase their own streetlight.
I wonder if residents know that, or if they do understand the
They do
process.
now.
If they do now. But just because I was surprised to hear that, because I always lived on streets that had streetlights. It was never a thought in my mind. And then when I happened to mention it, he's like, oh yeah, I owned my own for 30 years.
Yeah. And it's not a crazy bill
No,
either.
he said it was barely, it didn't even really do anything to his electric bill.
Yeah, not a crazy bill.
Yeah, and if it needed to be changed, he could just call them and they would come down and change the bulb if it went out. And then when they replaced all the other bulbs in town, went from was it CFL to LED, they replaced his at the same time, and he didn't have to pay any extra for it. It was just,
That's
it
awesome.
was just part of it. That might be something if residents
Yeah.
continue to ask for and be like, well, this is an option, like we'll take it up and discuss it, but this is an option for you as well
Yeah.
if you don't like the decision.
Yeah. In order to address this, we need some
Something needs to
kind
be
of
written.
protocol so that I can't,
Yeah,
and again, you don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction where, oh, well, you can't see at night. I mean, I personally, I can't see at night, so I want a street light. And in the interim, what happens is, it's not right in front of my house because there isn't a spot for it right in front of my house. It's in front of my neighbor's house who now hates me because
Yep.
I had a street light put in and they're not sleeping. And, it can be very, very complicated. So
Yeah.
we need an actual protocol, or to tell people that we're sorry, but the streetlights are what the streetlights are, and if you'd like one, you'll have to purchase it.
mm-hmm.
But you need to make that call one way or the other.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
I would be interested to see if there's anything from the state at a
Yeah.
minimum, if there's any
Yeah,
kind
so
of
let's just at least do
guidelines.
some research as to what's going on.
They have guidelines on everything, so I can't imagine there's not. Even if it says no guidelines, like, they have something on everything, usually.
Okay.
Yay.
So the next topic, which was, is brought to your attention by, received several noise complaints.
Was it several noise complaints the same day, or was it over the course of several days? Because I only saw the one email about,
Yeah.
We got one email, I got 2 phone calls.
Okay.
for the same date, or was it the same?
It
event?
was for the same event that occurred, but
Mhm.
they came in at different times.
Okay.
And this is not to address that one complaint. This is to
Right.
discuss entertainment licensing. And entertainment licensing in Brookfield have absolutely no restrictions on them. So, if you have a venue that has a wild party going and it's a great time and everyone's having a wonderful time, they're not thinking about being necessarily good neighbors, and they allow it to go until the close of their business, which may be at 1 a.m.
Right.
or it may match their liquor license, which is very difficult for the surrounding neighbors.
So I do want to hit pause for just a
Mhm.
second. The first thing I want to address is that my understanding from the complaint is that when they complained about the noise, there was a misunderstanding with the police department that just because there's a liquor license, that
Okay,
without
so-
restrictions, that we have agreed to whatever noise
I
level is
spoke with the
required.
chief, and he spoke with each officer, because it was not just one officer.
Right.
Neither of them, when relaying the information to him, made any type of claim or any comments to the effect that we were reported. And it was so homogenized. It was so exactly the same complaint. Two different officers used exactly the same words. I tend to believe the police officers. This
Okay.
was, it sounds like this was an issue that was discussed among the neighbors. And
Ah.
then they spoke
And
to me.
then they reported.
And then they reported.
Right, okay.
The two officers from, because I explained to the chief what happened, and he spoke with the officers. And the officers each had dealt with a different neighbor. Neither of them made any claims about any licensing whatsoever.
But I guess my question is, they got a noise complaint, did they go out and talk to the business owner?
That is a really good question.
So it
So
sounds like
in
they're
one
admitting they got a
instant-
report,
In
but
one
nobody
instance,
visited
the
site.
officer actually, because the complainant was being belligerent and verbally abusive and using lots of foul language, the officer told him that unless he calmed down, he wouldn't be able to speak with him. And he wound up ending the conversation. Now, I don't know if they went out and spoke with anybody,
Okay.
but, because that actually wasn't my question to the chief, I just asked him to investigate it.
So my concern with it is that, and I hate to put it this way, regardless of the behavior of the person reporting it.
Right.
Okay, and I'm not taking away from the officer's right to not engage with somebody who's being abusive. But similar to the experience that we've had on this board, just because somebody is abusive
Again,
and
but
wrong
again, we
doesn't mean that
don't
they're
have,
wrong.
we don't have a noise ordinance, we don't have a sound limit. They can't go and say, you need to shut this down,
No, but they could communicate to whomever,
which is from what
As
I
the
was
event,
told, well, they
that-
didn't communicate with anybody in the event that I'm aware of.
Right, so-
But they
so-
did
so they-
explain that
they-
they don't
they-
have any authority
Yeah.
over the event.
There's
well,
nothing they could do.
they might, well, yes,
Yeah.
but, so there's a difference between not having the authority to tell them to shut it down and to show up in a uniform and communicate the fact that a neighbor has lodged a complaint about the volume. Okay? And at that point, and I'll be frank with you, if the police aren't comfortable doing it, and they want to, most of them have my cell phone number.
Mm-hmm.
If they're afraid to show up at one of our
I
businesses.
don't think it was a fear thing at all. I mean, if someone complained
Uh-huh.
that there was a bunch of kids on the right-of-way to the beach that abuts their property, the police have absolutely no authority. They're not gonna go talk to those kids. They're gonna say, this is a civil matter, they have beach rights, we can't get involved in this, and they're not going to approach it. So in this instance, we have no sound ordinance, they have an entertainment license, they have no authority to act in this instance. If they go out there in their uniform and say, hey, we're getting complaints, that can be seen in a very negative connotation as well.
Yeah, I've seen that turn into almost like people claim intimidation or something like
Exactly.
that. And then, because we don't have any ordinance around it. Like, I've lived in towns, I've been in towns, my wedding was in a town that they had a 9 p.m. noise ordinance.
Yeah.
It did not matter whether
So-
it was private or public or a business or personal, it was 9 p.m.
9 p.m. is
You're
9
shut
p.m.
down. If you're at 9:01 and police get called, you're getting a ticket or arrested, depending on how bad it is. Period.
So the reason that I brought this up was because I think that in the future, for when you issue entertainment licenses, you need to put restrictions on them.
Yeah.
And one of the things we had done in one of the towns I was in is that they put a time limit on it.
Mhm.
They put a sound limit on it, like it can't be.
Decibel limit.
It can't be heard outside the building, because what they had done is they had bought big speakers and put it on their deck where people were eating. And they were right on the
Okay.
lake, so it
Okay.
actually shot all the way into another town. And because of the way sound travels over water, it was horrible for the people across the street.
Yep.
And the people on the deck are like, turn it up. So they wound up going to acoustic, no amplification only.
Yeah.
And they still got complaints from across the lake.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
didn't even have
it's-
any speakers. So, so there are, the reason I'm telling that story is because there are steps, like it can graduate to this, then this, then this, then you don't have an entertainment license.
Right.
If it's, but I've been here a year, and this is the first
is the
time
fir- well, that's the thing,
anyone's
it's the first
complained
complaint.
about this.
It's just
Yeah.
been.
This is the first complaint that's come out of
Right,
it.
that we're aware of.
And honestly, like the Brookfield Rod and Gun Club has had their entertainment license for
Mm-hmm.
60 years, and we've never gotten a single
Yeah.
complaint.
Their
Right.
firearms are louder than their events. So it's you know.
Yeah, of course, when you look at the population, it's probably not surprising.
I live right down the street from it, but it's loud. But it's just a fact.
Yeah, okay,
I-
so,
I wonder if too, and since there is no noise ordinance of any kind, that if one could or should be made almost separate.
That
So-
would be a bylaw.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if there was a noise ordinance and then the entertainment had a different piece of it that
Well, no,
didn't
but-
supersede
well,
the
so,
noise
because
ordinance.
the
but-
way this reads, although I'm confused as to why we have Mass General Law 183A on here when that appears to be about condominiums.
About what?
Or can't you have it?
Are these
I
both
have
Mass
no
General
responsibility
laws?
for your licensing. I have no
Okay,
idea.
can we just verify that we're calling out the right Mass General Law sections on our entertainment
Absolutely.
license? Because I'm gonna tell you, I don't think that the second one's correct. But,
You've got
So-
entire chapters? Section
19C,
19C?
and then Mass General Law 183A. And 183A is condominiums.
Interesting.
That's very weird. Okay.
So, it might be a cut and paste error from
Yeah,
a different.
and
I'm
to be
sure it
honest with
is.
you, it was all, I've been using the same one since I got here that was here, and
Yeah.
it's just reused, so.
Yeah, I think it's
I
probably
will check it
section
out.
181, which is the one that's called on the KP Law E update. Oh, no, wait a second. It does, it's chapter 140, section 183A. So that's the problem, is
Oh,
we're
they-
missing the chapter 140 inside the.
You just have the
license.
section?
Yep.
Just have the section,
Yep, licensing 140.
yep. So,
We will fix that for this year.
And
And then-
so I would recommend that you put a time limit, and that if it's going to be an all-day event, that they have to take breaks to give the neighbors a rest.
rest.
So that you may have entertainment between these hours, or for a 3-hour stretch, and then you have to take an hour break. Then you
So-
can have another 3-hour stretch, up to a certain
So,
time.
so how many of these do we have in town right now? We've
How many licenses?
Clam
Karen?
Box, Rod and Gun Club, and
And
Oakham.
Oakham are the only ones
Okay.
that have the entertainment licenses.
Can we do just like even if we just did it as like a Zoom call or something with the proprietors who get these on a regular basis, and just ask them what makes sense for their purposes for,
Well, I don't think that you should do that unless you're gonna get feedback from the neighbors.
Yeah.
Because that also makes sense, because what works for a business does not necessarily work for a neighbor.
well, no, I
It-
appreciate that.
Yeah.
So,
And Clam Box is on Route 9 versus Oakham, which is in the woods around residential. I know Clam Box is by residential as well, but
Yeah.
they're a
Not
little
to
bit,
the same
they're a
extent.
Not
little
to the
more
same
buffered.
effect, they're a little bit
Yeah.
more buffered, and
Yeah.
there's worse potential noisemakers than them.
I'm wondering, the first place that came to mind and just in reference was not one in town, but it was Lakeside
Yeah,
in East Brookfield. I wonder what
their licensing
what either
says.
theirs is, or if East Brookfield has some other kind of like noise stuff. Because they're right on a lake, so they've got that whole lake effect.
yeah,
Yeah,
issue, and they
But I
always have
think if
live
you do just a
entertainment.
blanket thing across the board, like,
Yeah.
so we'll start off with
Just-
something easy, like no music after
10 PM, yeah. I was thinking 10
Oh, that's early.
right? So,
That's
but,
early.
for music then?
this,
Yeah.
so the particular event that happened
Especially on
started
a weekend.
in the morning, from what I understand, and it shut off exactly at 8 o'clock. But because of the decibel level,
But it was.
and that it was nonstop, and that it was literally rattling windows and disturbing pets.
Yeah, there should be a decibel.
But
there's a-
but we can't monitor a decibel.
Yeah. Well,
We can't monitor a decibel.
if there was
Well,
a,
we could.
if there was a,
If we have a decibel reader and someone who's trained on it and someone
Yeah.
who's gonna have the capability to calibrate it,
yep.
Well,
which they
if-
have to have a state certification for.
certification.
You can't use the one on your phone.
No, listen to me for just a second though. So we don't have to have the capability. It costs like $100 to send them in to go get them calibrated by a professional and whatever
Mm-hmm.
certified calibration agency.
You also do have to be certified to use them,
Yep.
for them to hold up in court. And if you're not gonna do this, then,
Yeah,
It's either all the way or not
Yeah.
at all.
yeah. But I'm just saying, I mean, we shouldn't make it sound like it's impossible. It
it's
would
not
have been
impossible,
possible.
it's
yes.
challenging. We can't get people to volunteer for anything,
Right.
for committees that meet once a month. We're gonna get somebody to we're gonna put that on the zoning enforcement officer, to go out there with a decibel reader and train him, and make him the sound police?
Well, actually, the agencies that have enforcement capability under the CMR for the
Board of
state
Health.
is the Board of Health.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question would be, and
Which
maybe
one
it's, no, maybe it's a note to the Board of Health. We have an animal agent, we have a Title IV agent. Maybe at the next town meeting, we need to see if we need to fund a noise agent for specifically for CMR, whatever, and let the town decide. Cause you know what, we have the complaints relative to Quabog Street. I think this was probably a one-time affair. I still need to, I think it's still worth a discussion with Oklahoma. That hasn't happened yet, to say if you're gonna do like a music festival or something, like give the neighbors a break, like you were saying. Let's talk about what's really reasonable, right? But they've been good neighbors mostly, so I think if we have that discussion, it's not gonna be, that's why I'm actually upset that we didn't, at the time when we received the complaint at the police, have some means to communicate back to Oklahoma. even
As
if
far
it's
as
to
we
pick
know,
up
they
the
may
phone.
not even realize they had the complaint.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
is that people may not have called the business, they probably just called the police. And it sounds like the communication stopped there, okay? You guys are right.
Not in
We-
both
we probably
instances,
don't.
one of the officers went through the whole thing,
Right.
didn't have to end the conversation, but.
Right, but, but fundamentally, even if we don't want a uniformed officer showing up, we could have probably figured out a way to communicate something to the
Mhm.
enterprise, and at least picked up the phone and called them and said, hey, we got a complaint, help a brother out. But that's what it seems like. I think the starting point is just, I would agree with you that there needs to be something on the licenses, but hypothetically, it's already there if we're calling out the right section, because section 181 is the one that basically says don't be a nuisance. And we don't actually even call that out on our licenses appropriately, right?
Apparently not, no.
So,
That's actually funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it is.
right. And actually, it's vague, but it looks like there's precedence that unreasonably increasing the level of noise in the area at which the premises is located, okay? And what's unreasonable, I think there's a judgment call there, but, I think complaints do, to a certain extent, constitute a nuisance.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. What I don't know how you measure it, because it's such a subjective term.
Yes.
What annoys me, because I have sensory issues, does not annoy a normal person. What makes me literally need earplugs, which I carry with me 24 hours a day, doesn't bother a normal person.
Right, and I'm literally half deaf in one ear, so
Yeah.
all I have to do is turn
So-
my head and I'm good.
Huh, what?
And nails on a chalkboard don't bother me. They freak people out.
Yeah. So,
And, okay, so, and anyone, by the way, who serves food needs a common vic.
right.
Not everyone who serves food here has a common vic. So that's something else that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
Do they actually serve food there, or do they have the food trucks, I think?
They have
Adam,
both.
Didn't you say that?
They actually
They do
serve
both.
food
Oh, they
there.
do, okay.
Yes.
I thought they had.
I was
common
told they
vic.
didn't need.
They don't.
Yeah,
I
I
was told they didn't
think,
need a common vic, but I thought they got another license from the Board of Health.
Nope,
I'm
I
not
spoke
sure.
with the Board of Health.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
thanks for clarifying that, because I was told they didn't need a common vic, so I didn't send them an application.
next
Okay.
meeting.
So, well, I think it's under the,
Well, it's not
So I
under
think- I
us,
think
it's
the-
under Board of Health. right?
yeah, well, it is, but I think fundamentally what we need to do, and I think this is really just for discussion, because we can't change the licenses.
You actually can under chapter 140, section 183A. In order to preserve and protect the public health, safety, and order, as aforesaid, the licensing authority may place conditions upon the license and promulgate rules, regulations for such licenses. Licensing authorities may modify, suspend, revoke a license pursuant to this section for any violation of their rules and regulations, and may petition the Superior Court, trial court to enjoin the violation. So I think what it's saying is you need to adopt rules, but once you do,
Then we
you
can,
can enforce them.
Right, and we need to adopt rules, and if we were gonna change
I
the
wouldn't
license,
do
we
it
would
for
need
this
to-
licensing
well,
period,
no.
because, you know,
No. I think we need to have the conversation so that in the next licensing period, we've got clear guidelines for folks.
We're prepping for that now, actually.
yeah,
so-
because they automatically expire December 31st.
Right, right. So, can you do a quick outreach on the town administrator, like
Mhm.
what other communities have relative to this? I don't wanna reinvent the wheel.
Good, because that's never fun.
No. And can we just go ahead and put the general rules on the next agenda,
Yep,
so we don't lose sight of it? Okay, next item is 16 Hobbs Avenue for the upcoming land auction.
okay, so 16 Hobbs Avenue was gifted to the town for conservation purposes or conveyance.
Or conveyance.
I believe so. Where is that?
Now, where
piece of
is
work?
16
It's the last
Hobbs?
page of the packet that you have, has the town meeting vote. Now formally owned by Anna, I'm not gonna try that, it's too late. To be held for general municipal purposes and for the purpose of conveyance on such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen deem to be in the best interest of the town. With the way this was voted, we do not need a town vote to sell this. We don't actually need a vote by you either. However, the title insurance company
does.
is requesting that we do it for a bootstraps and suspenders approach to selling the property, so that the title itself will be absolutely free and clear. We sent all of this paperwork to them, and they in turn said, you don't actually need a vote, but if you did it, you definitely have all your I's dotted and T's crossed. So that's why I'm asking you to do it, so we can add it to the auction.
Okay.
And 16 Hobbs is,
0.28 acres.
yeah,
Will it show up?
that's what I'm wondering. Can't be particularly. On Hobbs and. Okay, it's down close to Pine Lane. It's the feeder for Pine Lane, right off of Quabog Street. This is like on the corner of Quabog and
Okay.
what turns into Pine Lane. So, Is there a, I guess it doesn't really matter. So, you wanna make a motion to go ahead and add that? I don't think there's any particular interest in keeping that.
Mm-mm. And it appears that 90% of what we have is not technically buildable.
Yeah.
So
Like you can't do anything on this, I don't
the
think.
auction company makes their money is a percentage of the sales, and they're not even gonna make their advertising back, is what they think on these.
Oh, really?
So we may not have the auction, what I'm hoping. There's another group that will buy bundled property that is of low value, or it's not property of low value, that's a specific legal term, I shouldn't have used that, I'm sorry. That is not an attractive sale. So I'll hear from Paul Zikos again. I'll send him what the zoning determination is on the lots and see if he still wants to do it. But if not, we have another avenue to explore to get them back on the tax rolls.
Okay.
Okay,
So I can just make a motion that we move forward.
okay, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What was that vote to move forward?
Just
Move
move forward with the.
move forward allowing that to go onto the auction, that allows
Okay.
16 Hobbs Avenue
Yeah.
to be added to the upcoming land auction. I do have a question, there's what seems to be abandoned property that was adjacent to Lewis Field. Is that in tax title, or is it just
I'm sorry, I don't have the answer to that question. I don't visualize any of the parcels that we have.
Okay,
Amy would know, but I can find that out for you.
yeah. Yeah, or if you could just send, did we get a list via email of what's going in?
At some point we had a
You
print.
What-
did,
at
you
one
had,
point I had
you
a
had a
print.
list, you had a list.
Well, it was in the senior, the last time I saw a list, it was in the list that was in the senior center listing.
No, we had another one
Okay,
that was just ones to be,
I can email
Put
you the
for auction,
list
yeah.
yeah,
tomorrow,
would you send
Yeah,
the list
so-
tomorrow, that'd be great.
or Thursday, depending on if tomorrow goes crazy.
Okay, fair enough,
it's in a box somewhere at my house.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably in a folder somewhere at my house, but trying to find it might be entertaining. And I think there's been changes since, so I just would like to know where we are
Mhm.
with the list fundamentally.
There really hasn't been any,
We added the 2 more back in that we were originally gonna hold back for the senior center.
yeah, that was on the original list with a
That was
hold
it?
on it.
Okay.
And then the rest of them, so there are 12 parcels, with this one there'll be 13.
13, so Baker's dozen,
Yes,
all right.
but I'll get the list from Amy and send it to you.
That'd be great. All right, emergency decisions for the town administrator during a period of time when we don't technically have a functioning board. So, I guess,
I already can sign the contracts.
right,
So that's okay, and as chief procurement officer, the law allows me some latitude and, so for instance, we're gonna need to hire the engineer for the Green Street project
Right.
while there's no board.
okay.
But that's a procurement officer thing anyway.
Right,
So I don't anticipate any issues, and it's for 3.5 weeks total. But then I don't know what the emergency would be. So, but I'm concerned that because we won't have a board that can act in any capacity, that if you allow me the authority to act on an emergency, and then you and I can discuss what's an emergency, and then you can say, okay, so I deem this actually is an emergency, this is what I think we should do, and then I'll at least have the legal authority to do it.
right.
So that's the only purpose behind this, and it's temporary. The day that election happens, I don't want this power.
Yeah, that's the 8th, so it would essentially go till the,
I'm firing everybody. No, I'm kidding.
so it would go from October 13th.
It would go from October 12th.
12.
You sign your deed on the
I
12th.
signed it on the 12th, yeah.
Yeah,
So it would go from
until November 8th.
or would it be the 9th? Because
It would be November 8th, because as soon as they're sworn in, if they hang out after the election, they can get sworn in right then. They're actually not selectmen until they're sworn in.
Yeah, and
So what-
when I remember it didn't happen till the next day
Yeah,
because
so
the
what-
results didn't come in till late in the evening after town hall had
I'm
closed.
gonna ask the folks that I know that are running to stop by about, 7:30 and wait until the count's done.
Yep,
The polls don't close until 10.
yeah. That's why it was the next day.
It's the
a
polls
state
don't close
election.
until 10 because it's a state election, yeah.
Yeah, so it would be till the 9th.
Okay.
Or until they're, at
Yeah.
least one of them is sworn in.
Yeah,
On state
Yes.
election?
yep.
Well, they do, for this one, I don't remember ever working, I've worked many elections as election warden in another town, and I have never been in an election that late.
Well, it's almost every position this year, right? For the state?
I have no idea,
I
all I
think-
know is that I'm gonna be exhausted, because I'm working, I volunteered to be a poll worker in my local town after work. So,
Okay.
the poll workers need a break too.
So I think we could just leave it open in terms of authorizing you to make emergency decisions, which are defined as decisions that, due to their nature, can't wait until the meeting following the 9th of November,
Mhm.
right?
And would solely be a select board decision.
And would solely be a select board decision. So, can we get a motion?
Sure. I will make a motion that we authorize our town administrator, Kelly Robbins, to make emergency decisions as stated by the chair from October 12th to November 9th, or until the board is completed via
Swearing in.
being sworn in by the town clerk.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'd like a motion to designate Kelly to sign off on the warrants.
Yep, I'll make a motion that we designate Kelly to sign warrants.
All right, and I'll second that. Let me just propose an amendment that we make it not specifically Kelly, but by position that the town
Oh, town
administrator.
administrator, yes.
The town administrator is authorized to sign warrants. So do
Yep.
you want to second the amendment?
I'll second the amendment.
All right, let's vote the amendment. So all in favor?
Aye.
And vote the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
So, can we get a motion to appoint me as the ADA coordinator, since we
Yep.
haven't been able to find one and we need one to be able to apply for grants?
Yep, I'll make a motion to appoint Beth Coughlin as the ADA coordinator.
All right, and then we just need to get me sworn in. All right,
And we need this appointment slip done up. Or we need something from you, Karen, saying that at an official, that they voted to do this, because the grant needs to go in tomorrow.
Yes, I'll send it off to,
okay. I'm not technically sworn in, but
oh, yeah.
we've got an appointment slip.
Yeah, that's what she
I
needs.
swear to uphold the bylaws of the town of Brookfield in executing my duty. I don't know if we can get him to, I can try to.
We just need a motion that you were appointed. That's
Okay.
what we need for the
We need a
grant.
motion that we were
Okay.
appointed, so I have a motion that I'm
Yeah.
appointed, I'll get sworn in as soon as I can. I may have to go into work in Connecticut tomorrow though, so I may not make it tomorrow till
Okay.
like evening,
I'll email that off to Kathy tonight.
so. Building permit fee increase discussion.
I don't think mailing it is gonna work. I think she needs to submit it with the, so send her like
I'll
a,
send
like
her-
a
I'll send her
letterhead
an
one.
attachment,
been a
yeah.
while.
Perfect,
I'll email her the
perfect.
attachment, yeah.
It's been a while since building permit fees have been updated.
So Jeff came to me and asked if we would add a base fee to the two, ones in your packet. Where is it?
Is there a
Building
reason
fees.
why just the commercial?
Just, so the commercial industrial and then the commercial additions, because it's $8 per $1,000 of valuation, and the contractors are putting values that are well below market.
Okay.
So,
Right, and-
so
and
what's
that's probably one of
happening
the reasons
is,
why commercial renovations used to be $500 plus the 10 cents a square foot.
yeah,
So it
and
makes
that's
it
what it is.
consistent,
And,
and it-
and, but, so what he wants the, like, the addition one to have a base pay. he said that 10 cents per square foot worked really well for that particular situation, but this is what he specifically requested. And that's because there are contractors who have all the materials and they're doing all the labor themselves, and so they're putting their net value, not the actual value of the project down.
Yep.
Their net costs, I should say, not their, actual value. So he would like this two $500 base to be added on.
Right. So,
I don't have an issue. Almost everything else here has a base.
yeah, I mean,
Within
even
plus
like, I hate to put it this way, even, you know, when I pulled my permit for my deck, it was a base fee plus this amount of square foot
A
that I
flat
was
fee
doing.
plus the square fee,
foot.
yeah.
So,
Yep.
I think that makes it only fair fundamentally, so, can I get a motion?
Yep, I'll make a motion that we increase the building permit fees for commercial, industrial. We add a base of $500 to the current $8 per thousand evaluation, and the same for commercial additions.
I'll second that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And, for the post-meeting, like, public and department communication, just, I know we've been doing a much more timely manner getting our minutes out. We've been getting them out virtually the next meeting. And I understand that anything posted prior to the approval of minutes would have to come with all kinds of disclaimers. But I think, especially where, we haven't necessarily been able to post the videos of the meetings, like, right off the bat, and I think, did we get an offer out on the cable coordinator position?
We did, and he said no.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I thought I mentioned it at the last one, didn't I? I thought I talked about it at
I
the
wasn't-
last
I
meeting.
wasn't here.
He didn't
Wait, no.
like the payroll. And he knew the entire, which confuses me, because he knew the entire time roughly what the dollar amount was, but then decided no. But we are gonna reach back out to him because we have a window. We voted $24 up to $26.
Yep.
And so we're gonna reach back out to him and see if we changed it from the 24 to the 26, but it would lessen the hours he would be working.
Yeah,
He's basically gonna get the same amount of money, he's just gonna be
Yeah.
getting more work per hour.
yeah, okay,
If he'd be interested,
Okay.
but he was the only person who applied.
right. So in particular, since we're not right now in a position to like be live streaming or getting these up really fast, I'd like to at least get just a very, like, kind of the agenda, and if anything was expressly voted, just a one-liner as to what
Okay,
action was
do that.
taken. Just like
Yeah.
the shortest Cliff's Notes that you've ever seen in your entire life available.
That's good.
You know, and I guess on the website, because we're not supposed to have a town Facebook page.
No, you really shouldn't have a town Facebook page.
Yeah.
Not unless you have a Facebook policeman who's gonna
Yeah.
monitor it 24 hours a day.
I think we mostly have the comments.
Does
turned
the I can't remember what section, rule, whatever it is about social media and moderation, does that apply to towns?
up. I don't know.
I
But
can't
we,
remember what
but
it
what
is.
we can
It's
do
the one
frankly
that
is if
people
we
don't
wanna
like.
use it as a one-way thing, but just to have it accessible easily for people from a Facebook perspective, is you can just turn off all the comments.
Yeah,
Well, that should already have been done,
Yeah.
but, yeah, this isn't on the agenda, but this is definitely something that needs to be discussed.
Well, it's relative to where we would put the short version of the.
Gray area.
or a link to the website.
All right, so, yeah, post-meeting public communication, right? So,
Right.
where can we put
Would
this? It
ask.
should go on the website, it's gonna go on My Town Government. There is an agenda and minute feature on our website. We
Okay.
don't have to use the My Town Government.
Okay.
There's a whole
Yeah.
other setup that we could actually utilize as well.
Mhm.
As far as Facebook goes, I have no idea who's in charge of it, who has access to it, who
Brenda
can
and
turn it
myself
on,
are
and who can.
moderators. Go ahead.
Me and Brenda make all work.
Yeah.
And you as well?
I think I'm also still an admin. So I think Brenda made me an admin like years ago. I've never touched it.
So all comments should be off.
Okay.
It should be a one-way informational thing only.
Okay.
And what happens when you're not a selectman anymore and Brenda doesn't have time for it? Whose
Yeah.
job is it to monitor and take care of that Facebook? That needs to be decided.
Right.
And that person needs to have complete access to it.
Yep.
We need
And
a-
then you gotta, yeah,
we need a social media coordinator.
We just need a media coordinator, which is what eventually the cable access.
you
needs
also need to
morph
be
into.
able to respond to people who are sending messages to that. Even though they can't post on it, they can still message it unless you turn messages off and it's used as a bulletin board only, which is,
Yeah.
if you're gonna keep it,
You-
I would be okay. I would be okay with it if
It
it was a
should be
bulletin
bulletin.
board only
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
I've seen
No
other,
discussion of any kind from any direction.
I've seen other towns, it's just, they stay right up front, bulletin board use only, like, they make
Yeah.
it clear.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think we
I
can,
would be
we can
okay
make
with
those
that.
modifications to it pretty
I
easily.
would be okay with that.
Yep,
Lock it down.
lock it down.
And then what do you want to put on it? How much information do you want to put on it? I got an email from someone who was irate that they didn't know something that was going on in town that was posted everywhere. I could think of. It was in the newspaper, it was at the town hall, it was on the website, it was on My Town Government, but it wasn't on Facebook, so they were mad.
Yeah.
Facebook is not a source of
It should
news
not,
and information.
it should not be an official town thing. It should not be an official posting place. Because, just that reason. What's important to someone might not be important to someone else. And we have legal requirements to post things in legal places. And I don't want any backlash because we didn't post it on Facebook or tweet it and what's next? We're gonna do Instagram and Twitter?
There are some,
I don't recommend
there are
any
some
of
cities
those.
in Massachusetts that have Twitter.
I
I follow
don't,
them for the fun.
I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that at all.
It's asking for trouble.
Yes.
And Instagram is Facebook, which is Meta anyways,
Yeah.
so all the same.
Yeah. All Instagram is it's a visually appealing Facebook. Okay. Got it. So next is to approve the Board of Selectmen meetings from the, we're gonna be approve, but not
But
The
not
executive
post.
session one can't
release
be
the
released,
exec
right?
session.
Nope, that was the one pertaining to litigation, correct?
Right,
Yep.
correct.
So you have other executive session minutes that the situations are no longer relevant or
And those can be
current,
released.
those need to be released,
Okay.
I'll go through those.
All
okay?
right, and then I need a motion for the 6/14, 11/26/14, and then the 9/16/14.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from 6/14/22, 11/26, 2014, and 9/16/2014.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
What's the one that I took the minutes for that I can't remember?
8:30.
Okay, I knew it was 8 something, but I should have those for you for the next meeting.
Okay. And then we've got the cultural council minutes from 6/6 and 8/1.
And Chada.
So, and then we have, we need a motion to accept those minutes?
No, just, you're just acknowledging them, you don't actually have
Okay.
to accept their minutes. Although I am a little concerned about one of them. The Cultural Council supposedly is a 22-member council. If they don't have 12 members present, they're having an illegal meeting, because that's a quorum of 22.
So wait a second, though, I think the cultural council, then they have volunteers, right?
Well, we have it on the town website that it's a 22-member council.
Yeah,
Okay, can we just send a communication to them to like
clarify.
pick 9 for their committee and designate the others as volunteers? So that we can get the appointment slips
You
right?
can send that to Jean.
Is there a committee,
I think people just wanted to be on it, so they just kept adding them, and now it's presumed that that is the size of the council. I don't know what their legal
So-
makeup is.
So I don't know that we have ever designated in writing on a charter, how many people are supposed to be on their committee?
If it's an ad hoc committee, it can change at the drop of a hat, so.
So currently, they have an undefined membership.
Should be
So
defined.
we just need to get their chair to define what their current membership is, and that if some of them, are they all voting committee members, or are some people voting committee members and others strictly volunteers for events?
Okay, did you get all that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Is that a decent way to approach it?
That is a good way to approach it.
So, we do have communication from Charter that on or around October 1st, NBCU will cease programming on the Olympic Channel for channels 316, 333, or 892, and they will also want to let us know that on or about the third TV 1000 Russian Kino guide will be updated to reflect accurate programming schedules on channels 1621 and 2670 on the channel lineup servicing our community. And then Spectrum will also launch on the third Caracol TV and HD on channels 856 or 884 in our channel lineup. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yep. I'll make the motion to adjourn at, was it 7:37?
All right, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.